massive thank you to all of our patrons who've been supporting the Rebel Matters podcast through thick and thin. If you want to become a supporter of the show, you can find us on patreon.com/. Rebel Matters. We really appreciate all of the support, and it truly is helping to keep the show on the road. Last but not least, enjoy the conversation with Hassan Piker. First of all, welcome to Belfast, and thanks very much for coming on to the podcast. It's great to have you here. What is this your first time in Ireland?
Yeah, first time in Ireland, first time in Belfast. It's been a journey.
Hey, there we go.
What brought you here?
I came here for Trinity College, and they gave me an award that they've also given to Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, but also Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So I was like, all right, I'm somewhere in the middle there, politically. But I came here for that, and I made a trip out of it because I hung out with the lads, the Kneecap Boys, in Coachella. And I was, ever since then, I've been like, I gotta come out. I gotta see Belfast for what it is. And so far it's been I've only been here for a couple hours, but it's been amazing.
What have you been up to?
I just got a black cab tour and got to see all the murals, got to see like the peace gates and the loyalist side a little bit as well. And learned about the history of the troubles and the protracted struggle against British occupation.
Fun.
It's been a really interesting journey. To see it in person is definitely a different feeling than reading about it or seeing it in movies or learning about it in general. And in my experience, at least, seeing all of the murals, the Palestinian murals, the representation for indigenous peoples all around the world, and then crossing over the Peace Gate, and then seeing the other side's murals, I was like, this is ridiculous. And I had, I wanted to see, there's this one, I think there's this one, like, you guys have gardens, right? And I think they have some like loyalist gardens on the other side as well. Because it kind of feels like they just take everything.
Like the memorial gardens?
Yeah, like memorial gardens. It just kind of feels like they just take everything and copy it, but in reverse, politically and in general. And it's just like do a, I don't know, worse job at it. But I had seen this mural, this collection of murals on the British side where there's like a representation of like the Sons of Ulster from all the way from the Confederates to apartheid South Africa to Israel. So it's like it feels crazy that these guys have basically chosen the worst politics they possibly could on every conflict.
I bring people around Belfast quite often as well, and I've brought loads of people around who've never been to Belfast before.
Yeah.
Even people from the south coming up to Belfast for the first time as adults. And I often wonder like what people's first impressions are of coming up here. Like, what do you think, like, of the vibe? Do you think it's a fucked up place? You can be honest. Is it?
No.
You get it? Like, it's just like something wrong with this place. The way the walls are. There's a divide there. There's two separate sets.
From that aspect, yes. I will say, every single person I talked to before I got here was like, "Oh, it's a little bit of a shithole." I'm not gonna lie. That's what they said. It's not, for the record. It's not at all. And I'm talking about Irish people that had said this, for the record. But
okay.
I think it's awesome. It is definitely interesting seeing segregation in such a direct way, and it's like colonial remnants still very much sitting in the middle of the city like a scar that you can just visualize, that you can see, and the vibes are still there. The all of the impact and all of the struggle is very much baked into the heart of the city.
Were you surprised by it?
I don't know. I feel like I've done a decent amount of reading on it, so it was like it's almost like seeing it in person is different than reading about it. But I guess it was a little bit jarring when you're going down the mile the stretch. I forget what it's called, where the long road where the wall is.
On the other side of the wall, where all of the graffiti is?
Well, not even that. I'm just saying, like, in general, when you're going down the road and you see, like, all of these homes on the Catholic side and the wall is so closely slammed behind them.
Bombay Street.
Yeah, it's even the way that they designed it. Like, it's so obviously harmful to one side over the other. Like, there's this attitude where it's like, oh, why can't people get along, right? Like, from the outside, people might be thinking, oh, like, why can't people just get along? It seems like they just have religious differences or something. And it's like, no, it's not about fucking religion at all, and has everything to do with a very visible colonial segregation that has been implemented in this city, and it's in every road. It's in every nook and cranny that you can see. It's interesting.
That kind of dismissive statement of the type of struggle that was happening here about why can't they just get along, two religious factions that just don't agree with one another, actually is very similar to the argument that people use when they're trying to describe what's happening in Palestine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is another very common thing that Americans say all the time, where they're like, why are Irish people so pro-Palestine? And it's like, come to Belfast and you will immediately understand why Irish people are so pro-Palestine. I mean, the conditions imposed by the British here were not dissimilar to the West Bank at all. It's like and I haven't seen it personally. You've been, so you can speak to it a lot clearer than I can, but from everything that I've read, and everything that I've studied on the matter, it's basically like seeing it. But the difference is it's in fucking Western Europe, which is so crazy.
Yeah, like the first time I went to Palestine was in 2018, and what brought me there in many ways was this just curiosity to find out what was going on there, and because of the fact that we had been raised with this sense of common sort of experience with Palestinians. So I was interested.
Yeah, the British fucked that up too. They had a hand in that too. So
yeah, more than a hand. Actually, have you seen Palestine 36 film that's out recently?
No, I haven't seen it.
Very good look at the British's role in Palestine.
Yeah,
it's just got released there recently. But the first time I was in Palestine, I was curious to just note down some of the things that were sort of familiar to me. Like, the Jeeps were just a slightly more modern version than the Jeeps that we had here. The Israeli army, as far as I understand it, are actually modelled on the British army in many ways. We were in Al Khalil in Hebron, walking down Al Shuhada Street, which is closed off to Palestinians, and there was a patrol happening on that street at a time, and the group of soldiers that were on patrol were actually dressed the exact same, in the same uniform as what the paratroopers wore when they were here. Same colour of beret and everything like that. And I said to our tour guide, is that the paratroop regiment there? And he was like, oh, how did you know that? That's like same uniform as what they were wearing in Belfast. But at the same time, like, having said that, I am also conscious of not drawing parallels too much, or like overemphasizing parallels, and because there's a lot of things that happen here that didn't occur in Palestine, a lot of things that happened in Palestine way above and beyond the type of destruction and violence that we experienced here. But I think that putting them too closely together in a way is sort of does a disservice to both.
Yeah,
in some respects.
But the similarities are definitely there, because
okay,
it
really
is.
Sorry. Give me like
I mean, it's a settler colonial movement. It's still colonialism. So seeing it in person, it is shocking. Because this is 2 hours away from Dublin, right? Belfast is 2 hours away from Dublin by train. It's a beautiful train ride, by the way. And all of a sudden, you're still in Ireland, but there's just random walls everywhere, and there's memorials dedicated to people who have been ruthlessly slaughtered by the British occupation. And it's like, as an outsider's perspective, you look at that, and I think many Americans probably look at that and don't fully understand it either, where they're like, but you guys, you kind of sound the same, you look the same, you know what I mean, from afar, where it's almost like a confusing process, unless you are familiar with how empire works, at which point you very clearly understand what's going on. But that's why I was going to say, like, Americans are so confused by by why Irish people in general are so pro-Palestine, are so, I guess, quote unquote, woke. But this is why.
The infrastructure of imperialism has just repeated itself.
Yeah.
Anywhere it has raised its head in the world is largely due to the fact that the Brits have been responsible for a lot of it, and they're using the same tactics.
Yeah.
No matter where they go. So how did you end up getting into this line of work that you're doing now?
I don't even know, honestly. I grew up in Turkey, and I was very interested in politics from an early age because I saw the rise in power with the Erdogan regime. And there was a lot of social repression and political repression that was taking place at the time. And I didn't like it because I was very young. And I think that it just like built on top of that. It just expanded from that point on. And then when I was 18, I came to America. And growing up in Turkey, of course, I already had a perspective about American imperialism, endless destabilization, death and destruction. That was very different from someone living in Western Europe or someone living in the West in general. But when I came to the United States of America, and I saw that, like, in spite of all of the issues in Turkey, there was still at least like the bare bones of a public system, public healthcare, public schooling, public college, and the necessity of such things. And then watching Americans basically fuck themselves over and not have any of those things, like noticing the absence of those things, made me realize that the system is completely, like, capitalism in and of itself is completely a death spiral, a death march for the overwhelming majority of the people that live under it.
So would you say that you had your kind of a pivotal point in your political awakening in Turkey, or when you moved to the United States?
It's just like the two different pivotal points were when I was growing up, when I experienced like any kind of like social regression, and then I think anti-capitalism came after from like anti-imperialism came first for me before anti-capitalism. I saw the impact of military adventurism in the region, and I didn't like it. But then anti-capitalism came after when I came to America. The first medical bill that comes in, you're like, wow, this is unacceptable. This is ridiculous. Like, you need healthcare. What the fuck are we doing?
In Turkey, do you have any particular event when you were a kid that was kind of the point where you realized, okay, things aren't right here?
It sounds kind of silly, but it was, I used to read, in Turkey, there's a tradition of like political satire, political cartoons, and I think it was Erdogan sued the both of the political cartoon newspapers that I used to read all the time, and like all the satirists, because they had drawn him as a animal, like they put his head on an animal, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're the prime minister at the time. Like, why do you care? Why do you care about this? This is so silly. It was that and the fears of like potentially rolling back some of these civil liberties. But I think I was more of a liberal back then, for sure.
I'm sorry.
And it was definitely the social element that was something that I didn't appreciate.
One of my brothers was living in London for a few years. He's working for Arsenal Football Club, and I went over to visit him. And we were walking through Camden Town one day.
Oh yeah, I was looking at the poison.
And across the
There's
street,
not going to be another need for
there was this guy walking
I'll
backwards.
find out, I guess.
Only walking backwards, like walking like this.
Mm-hmm.
I spotted him and I said to Corbett, that guy's just walking backwards the whole way since I've been looking at him. And we were kind of watching him, and then I was like, I'm going over to talk to him. So we started following him, but he's moving, like he was walking quite fast.
I don't care.
What, backwards?
I'm not going to play this game multiple times, so it doesn't matter.
Fast-paced walk, what we would do going forward, but he was doing it going backwards. He was pretty
I'm not
good
going to
at,
look up the uses, I'm just going to look up if it has more uses.
And eventually he stopped and he had us back to a wall. And I went up to him and said hello. And he's like, well, how's it going? And he had a keffiyeh on. Me and Carver had them on as well, black and white one. I was like, I like your keffiyeh. He's like, thanks. And he's like, do we know each other? And I was like, no, I just spotted you from across the street, and I just wanted to come over and see like what the story is and how come you're walking backwards. And he said he just woke up one day and he couldn't walk forward. And it's like, what happens if you try and walk forward? And he was like, I'll show you. And he was like,
Tripping out.
and he fell over. He's like walking like he was made out of steel or something.
What's the
But
name
he
of the
said that he
mushroom
woke
in
up
Cult of the
one
Lamb?
day
The one that
during Theresa May's
eats all the other little
election
mushroom
campaign
guys.
when she was
Fuck,
trying to
I
get
forgot his
elected
name.
as the prime minister or whatever, and her
really
slogan
simple
was
too, isn't it?
"Let's
Just like
all
shroom.
move forward together."
No, it's not.
And he said that something must have snapped in him, and he couldn't go forward anymore. He had to just go backwards.
This is a real story.
I swear to God, after me and Carver were speaking to him,
Theresa May gave this guy an aneurysm.
yeah, I was like,
I'd
after
end
we
up-
finished speaking to him, I was like, if that's true, there's got to be something on the internet
Why did
about
you
it already.
save me?
And
Aren't
there
you
is if you look it up.
Oh, there is.
Camden's backward walking man. He's passed away now.
I had no
R.I.P.
reason
But
to stand by him.
But it had nothing to do with him walking back.
What caused you to be in
his
that
passing away.
no,
He just passed away of old age.
But we ended up talking to him for a while,
That's what.
and
Just my
he
dumb
had
one.
been in
What-
jail
what-
in Turkey.
It's
He
he
was a
poison.
cartoonist, and he drew a picture of
What kind of condition needs poison
Erdogan
as a treat?
his head
I've never seen a
on a
creature
dog,
alive after consuming that.
and the
No
ass of the
way.
dog was
Wait,
like
what's this guy's
Something like
name?
that.
George Bush or something on the ass. Just put in Camden's backwards walking
She
man.
needs poison to be
I'm gonna look this up. Okay, that's crazy. Backwards walking
Cool.
man.
It doesn't sound like it's a poison
Michael
resistant body. It
Dickinson.
sounds like it's a like
Check out the videos. Let's see.
poison reliant body.
Of him going backwards.
Oh, so he was a British guy.
Yeah,
Oh, I see him.
yeah, that's him.
Wow,
Let's get one thing.
that's
I
crazy.
don't take.
So then
Nothing.
he got out of jail, and he did it again.
I don't know
and
who or
deported
what
him.
you are, but the idea of owing
Okay.
someone really grates at me.
I didn't even know that they were doing it
Just
to,
this
to
once,
British
I'll treat
people.
you
But
to
I
some
mean,
of
it
my
makes sense.
special
I've gone as,
medicinal
like,
brew.
Wait,
he's got a long reach.
so do I have to wait
You
for him
know?
to get sick
He's
again
done
before I
this
can
with,
raise my
like,
health again?
Europeans as well.
I've had my
So,
eye on
it's
you
not
since you
surprising.
showed up in the village.
Are you still sort of connected back in Turkey?
My whole
Sickly.
family's still in
Hey, shut
Turkey, but I haven't been back in
My illness
a
has
while
no
now.
cure
I almost about to be 10 years at this
or
point.
loss.
Because I also wrote
Not a
about
chance, just
the
pour me a
coup
cup.
that took place in Turkey, and the government
Oh.
wasn't fond of the way I wrote about it on the Huffington Post. And ever since then, I haven't really been able to return. But, you know, one day, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
So then, how did you end up doing your streams and stuff in America?
So after college, I I couldn't find a job because the job market is shit. And I wanted to live in LA. I wanted to get out of New Jersey. I graduated from Rutgers.
Chemistry.
And my uncle
That's some
has
kind of
had
sorcery.
a YouTube channel, still has a YouTube channel called The Young Turks. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so I basically told my family, oh, I'm just gonna go and like intern with him while I study for the LSATs, the law school application test, and I had no intention of going to law school whatsoever. I just wanted to go to LA and live in LA. So I started
You
interning
plan to
there.
go next.
And then I was like, I'm not gonna go to law school.
I'll
So I
bunk
got
at
a
your
job
place.
there.
Oh, so I just keep coming
And
and
I
giving
started
him more
working
poison.
there. And I slowly but surely worked through. I mean, at first I was doing
What
advertising,
whim made you think you could
advertising
just
stuff.
waltz into
I was selling
Provision.
ad slots, and afterwards I
Okay.
started doing producer work for
This is
them
going
on
on
the
way
side
long.
for
I
free,
didn't want it.
just like doing a fill role wherever I could. And it was already like it wasn't
Yep,
like
yep,
a
yep.
massive company or anything. It was like
I'll see you
20
there.
people, and
Bye.
slowly but surely I just kind of forced myself, like nudged myself into whatever crevice I could on the
Yeah, let's get
production
that other
side.
increase now.
And then while I was doing that, I also
And then, so is it Sean
wanted to
when I
have
give him
something
shit?
of my
Is that
own,
I
like
was
some content creation
thinking that before.
initiatives
That's
on my
like the
own.
skills, aren't they?
And I decided I'll live stream on Twitch and build a community there. There's a video gaming platform
I've
at
heard
the
there's like
time.
a
Like
million
people play
now.
video games and live stream themselves doing that. And negatively
Time where
Breaking into UK audience, like I
for
don't
young
care. I don't know if
Americans,
I
a
care
lot
about
of
this
the
at all.
conditioning that they've experienced is starting to unravel.
It was
Yeah,
interesting when they were talking
for
about
sure.
Belfast.
I think the
first.
social fabric is unwinding, untangling every day. The social contract is completely blown up. People have no hope for a better future. They don't believe that they will retire at a reasonable age. They don't believe that they'll ever own a home. And things are getting
What is up, my man?
less and less affordable year over year. And they're very frustrated.
Cool.
Do you think that people's awareness and consciousness about what's happening in Palestine over the course of
that'd
the
be
last
useful,
2 years
actually.
especially has been kind of a bit of a catalyst for that kind of unraveling of conditioning? I'm just thinking about when Kneecap were in Coachella, and obviously they faced a huge backlash for putting the anti-genocide message up on their graphics board during their sets, but received nearly unanimous support
Yeah.
from the crowd.
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. So what I mean by that is, the less people are trusting of institutions, the less they're willing to subscribe to whatever the administration is saying, the government is saying. If they don't feel protected
Here's Sean.
by the American government, then they're going to be less invested in whatever message they want to put out there. And I think that instability is part of the reason why when so many Americans for the first time ever saw images of slaughtered children on their timelines, and then they saw the very same
Finally back, the
mainstream
perform-
institutions
got an
like
audience.
legacy publishers try to contextualize that death and destruction and say, oh, no,
music.
you don't understand. This has to happen. This is
I just want my
collateral.
skills.
This is collateral damage at most. They turned around and said, no, actually, this is pretty fucked up. So they both play a role. And I think the more established institutions resisted against listening to the demands being made by the public about all the death and destruction that they had seen, demands to cut ties with Israel, demands to stop sending weapons to Israel, the more the administration tried to suppress that kind of sentiment. Joe Biden arrested 3,500 student protesters, all peaceful activists, right? All peaceful protesters over the end of his tenure, basically. And the more the administration tried to censor and suppress the people's wishes, the angrier they got. And it reached a boiling point. And as someone who has been open about his anti-Zionism for the past 12 years in my professional media career, I never would have imagined that attitudes would swing in the other direction so fast. Because obviously this ongoing genocide and ongoing conflict has been around for more than 80 years. But for the last 78 years or so, most people were either completely oblivious to it, or if they were knowledgeable on it, they usually overwhelmingly were in favor of Israel and whatever fake position that Zionists had created to justify having an existing apartheid state.
The history sort of has a habit of repeating itself, and during the period of time of apartheid South Africa, people would have seen that as a permanent installation on the world stage, and to a certain degree it was permanent until it started to fall.
Yeah.
And then it was gone. What's your assessment of why the American government are so heavily invested in continuing to support Israel?
There's a multitude of different reasons, but I think it's
Abacus, keep a lid on it.
I go back and forth on this. I'm somewhere in the middle of like the Mersheimer side of things and the Noam Chomsky side of things, right? Like Mersheimer believes it's the prevalence of the lobby, the
Yes.
Israeli
Uploaded
lobby,
to
and
database.
it's
Let's leave it
immense
at that for now.
influence on
Remember to
American
stoke
politics.
Doesn't
And
get damaged by it.
Noam Chomsky, on the other hand,
I continue using
believes
it.
that it's an imperial vestige.
I already
And
gifted
I
it.
think it's both. The reason why America is so invested in Israel, and even at times when it's an unreliable ally or an ally
okay.
that is actually harmful to American interests, is because it is a
valid
permanent
a table
destabilizing
power.
factor in a resource-rich region, right? It's a Cold War ally at times. It has its own espionage tools. It's a laboratory for weapons. on a captive population, and a laboratory for different surveillance techniques as well. However, because of that, Israel has also had this tremendous allowance to basically operate on U.S. soil without any restrictions whatsoever.
What is hard drive
So, for
biscuit?
example, we have a concept
it's
called
not-
FARA in America. It's the Foreign
Okay.
Agent Registration Act.
Just food, right?
Israel's a foreign nation.
Yeah, like get along with it.
And yet, its lobbyists and its operatives do not actually have to register with FARA. They can simply operate on U.S. soil. It's the only country.
Military operatives.
Oh, it's so
that we're talking
tough.
about.
No, this is
Old
like
people with
lobbying.
bad teeth.
Lobbying.
Like
Be
lobbying the
able to eat-
government or engaging in like any sort of lobbying initiative at the behest of the
That's
Israeli
just
state.
like people in America.
They don't have to register as foreign agents, like many people don't. And that is an allowance that you get when the American State Department considers you to be the most significant destabilizing factor in this region. I think they trust Israel more than they do even Saudi Arabia and numerous other oil-rich countries that are also vassal states at this point.
So we've seen over the course of the last 2
Okay, I guess
years
it
in
wasn't a
Ireland and
skill.
in many countries, the most sustained mass movement of people are gathering around the issue of Palestine, people protesting against the genocide. It's probably the same in America. A lot of marches happening up and down the country.
Yeah.
How do you see the current state of the mainstream Palestine solidarity movement in North America at the minute?
I mean, I think it reached its apex point, but I feel like the fake ceasefire initiative that was presented specifically to, I think, make people feel like they had achieved some
Oh, that'd be
semblance
really
of
cool.
success and stop the protests has been somewhat successful in actually shifting people's priorities and attention away from what's going on.
Okay,
Although
okay,
the
let's move on.
atrocities continue, albeit not to the same degree as it did over the course of the past 2 years before the fake Gaza peace plan.
Which doesn't include the West Bank at all.
Yeah,
Things in the
of
West Bank
course.
have escalated since then.
Things in the West Bank have been supercharged since October 7, and it's still continuing. Yeah, the occupation is certainly permanent there and getting worse, and they're getting even bolder as well with the way that they are talking about annexing the entirety of the West Bank. However, I think that a lot of people have moved away from. I mean, they're still pro-Palestine, they're still anti-Israel, but I would say that they're not as active as they once were.
Do you think that there's still scope for a radical pro-Palestine movement in America to sort of push it to the point of tipping the balance so that something significant happens for Palestine from an American perspective?
That's a little bit too optimistic, I would say. But then again, I've been surprised pleasantly so far. So maybe there's more room for growth there as well.
In terms of Ireland then, when Ireland is positioned as an American ally, an ally of the United States in many respects, and as we've already talked about, has seen a huge groundswell of support for Palestine, not just over the course of the last 2 years, but it's sort of ingrained historically, kind of support for Palestine here. But how do you see Ireland in terms of the Irish state down south and its kind of where it's positioned as an ally of North America, and people are kind of positioned, the people have sort of positioned the country as an ally of Palestine, but on a state level haven't really done anything significant?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm an American citizen, so I can't talk too much shit, but the reality of the matter is it is nowhere near where it could be in terms of like being a real leader in the global stage in the anti-apartheid movement, for sure. And what I mean by that is I believe there was a BDS initiative at the state level in Ireland.
Correct.
That did not get implemented.
The Occupied Territories Bill.
Yeah, but that didn't get implemented.
No.
And that's what I mean. It's like sanctions, or not even sanctions, but like
Okay.
cutting weapons transfers, or not even ever having weapons transfers really is one thing. But I think like a fake state recognition in the way that France and numerous other European countries tried to implement, led by the Palestinian Authority, which is, compradors and collaborators with the Israeli state. At least from the perspective of the Palestinian people, that seems to be the case. Like all of this stuff I think all of these things are done in a very cynical manner. Like they're not moving the needle towards liberation for Palestinians. It's not true emancipation at all, and it's more so to try and get ahead of the groundswell of the popular movement in that direction from the masses, because the Western liberal capitalist democracies, I feel like, still have a responsibility to alleviate some of the pressure and release this pressure somehow. And I think that's the reason why they try to find like new ways of making it seem like they're actually moving in this direction,
Like the recognition
and listening,
of the state
and listening to the demands being made by the public, when in fact the real goal there is to try to get them to no longer pay attention to it at all. And it's the same principle behind even like forcing Israel's hand to stop slaughtering Gazans en masse. It was basically because it was getting to a point where I think it was causing too much instability, where even European allies were starting to move away from the United States of America.
But that doesn't apply just to Ireland. You could apply the same thing to any of the Western states who have had a massive groundswell of support for Palestine, but yet have failed to do anything significant.
But I feel like because of Ireland's position in general, not being a NATO nation, I think it has more room for mobility here.
Shit.
It has more of an opportunity, both with its its anti-colonial history, and also with its position in Western Europe. I think Ireland could be a real leader, and on that front, they have not.
We potentially are punching above our weight in terms of the size of the country and the amount of impact that we could potentially have if we were taking the right steps, because of some of the things that you mentioned, and especially our proximity to North America geographically, and also sort of as a
even culturally. It's I think I mean, look, what is it? It's like 80 million Irish Americans. There is definitely it's really interesting. Like Americans do actually look to Ireland with a sense of brotherhood, almost, where like there is this brotherly bond between America and Ireland, and you even see that with the likes of American Republicans, not Irish Republicans, but like the Republican Party, the Conservative Party. One of the Republican congresspersons was responsible for like doing weapons transfers to the IRA at the time, and you know, there were American bars that were fundraising for the provisional IRA, and that is direct material support to an anti-colonial movement, and it's unexpected from, you know, the country that is the hegemonic superpower, the American empire, right? So even in that respect, I feel like Ireland culturally could have more impact on the mindset of Americans.
And on top of that, Ireland sort of is an important economic base for American companies and so on.
Of course.
So there's a huge amount of influence that could be sort of affected from that point of view. I read somewhere just when I was on the train up to meet you here that 70% of your audience are male from 30 years and under.
Yeah.
Is that roughly accurate?
Yeah.
Why do you think that's the case?
I don't know why that's the case. I don't know, because I'm a 34-year-old guy, so that's probably part of it. But, you know, I do things that people my age do. I enjoy things that people my age enjoy, so that's probably the reason why. people see an affinity towards what I'm saying and doing, you know.
I didn't really follow along with the whole circus that was going on around Jordan Peterson. I believe he's left the stage of late in terms of him being so like prolific in the public eye or whatever. But his like base would have been largely kind of young men as well, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he might be dead now. By the way, we don't even know. We don't know where he is. I think he's in hospice care or something. But he's also had situations like that in the past where he almost died because he had a benzo addiction, and then he had to get this controversial treatment that you can only get in Russia, where they just like make you quit benzos cold turkey, and he had to be put in a coma for that. And then he got COVID after in the recovery process because his daughter was trying to fuck Andrew Tate in Serbia. Very interesting stories there for Jordan Peterson. But to go back to what you were saying, yes, he had a young male audience. I say he had because I feel like he's no longer as culturally relevant. But there is still a major young right-wing fan base out there of people that just like don't even think that they're political, but they love consuming the Joe Rogan Experience and numerous right-wing and sometimes even far-right podcasts and content creators. But there are always going to be some people who are seeking out alternatives to that. And I try to do my very best to pull people away from the throes of right-wing radicalization and to try to explain to them why they have this sense of resentment that they have in their hearts and who the real villains are, rather than, choosing to target and choosing to redirect the enmity or anxiety or anger that people feel towards vulnerable populations.
A lot of that narrative that's presented by the kind of right wingers,
No,
like
what the
Peterson,
fuck?
seems to be based around this sense of like neoliberalism, kind of like pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and if you can, like if I can do it, then anybody can do it, and that's just the way it is. Take responsibility for yourself, and it's very much an individual kind of a philosophy.
Yeah, but it works really well in places like Canada and the United States of America. It's like Americans are hyper individualistic, and they're aspirational. I think it's like a quote that's falsely attributed to Steinbeck that that goes something like, socialism would never work in America because the working class do not see themselves as an exploited proletariat, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires. And
Damn it.
that's stuck with me. Americans do genuinely think that they're temporarily embarrassed millionaires and billionaires. One day I'll get there. One day I'll be just as rich as Elon Musk. And then those poors better look out.
Okay.
They better watch out. And that is the prevailing attitude,
I'm so fucked if I even do get up there.
People are totally bought into this notion that if they wheel and deal, if they scheme, they'll get an upper hand on the next guy, and then one day they'll become super rich.
It's the American dream.
Yeah.
In ways.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's part of the reason
dude.
why I think in America, and this is a little bit different than like other European countries, culturally at least, we revere and love our super duper wealthy. Like they're on television, they don't even have to hide, they don't have to be mysterious about their background or their identities. They can go on podcasts and talk about how awesome it is to be a billionaire. And a lot of Americans eat that shit up because they go, yeah, I want to be just like that guy. He did it and I can too. And I think that's just a lie.
Okay, I do.
That's not
My
how that
Twitter's
works
like
at all.
shit. Oh my god.